Hello everyone. Today's art history topic is going to be on the Impressionism art movement and its founder, Claude Monet, along with other artists of this time. First, we will go over the definition of Impressionism art, what it consists of, when and how it was discovered, as well as a list of well-known artists from this era, the themes they stuck to, and what each of them brought to the Impressionism world of art. Lastly, we will discuss the life of Impressionism's founder, Claude Monet, and we'll go over some of his artworks and exhibitions. So, what is Impressionism? How and when did it start? And what artists have contributed to this genre of art? The Impressionism art movement happened during the 19th century in the 1870s to 1880s. It is the first art movement since the creation of photography in which it is highly influenced by. These art pieces are paintings made up of small but visible brushstrokes where subjects are more suggested rather than very detailed. These artworks are created upon a textured canvas in which gives it a more textured look and feel to the paintings. In Impressionism art, the use of light is an accentuated aspect. This type of art is visually stimulating and is based upon what the eye can see and how it can interpret the use of color, highlights, and shadowing. These paintings use all types of lighting situations, such as indirect lighting, non-directional, and reflected lighting, and consist of backlighting objects, front lighting them, as well as top and side lighting. Artists use different coloring to set the mood of the scene. For cooler scenes, they use colors such as grays and blues, and for warmer scenes, they use yellows, reds, and oranges. The compositions are open compositions and are very flat, two-dimensional spaces, but can give you the illusion of depth of field, even though there is no true foreground, middle ground, or background. When we look at Impressionism artwork, we may think of the word dreamlike, because the images we see in our dreams are never fully clear and detailed, just like these paintings that have suggested subjects and which don't have high detail qualities to them. The first Impressionist exhibition opened April 15th, 1874, at a photographer's studio named Nadar. The month-long exhibition consisted of 163 works by 35 different artists. Each year from 1879 to 1882, there was an Impressionism exhibition, usually taking place in rooms of empty houses that were either just built or were being reconditioned. Many artists contributed to the Impressionist art movement, such as Edouard Manet, Edgar Degas, Mary Cassatt, and many more. These artists, including Monet, lived the bourgeois contemporary life where they attended events such as the ballet. They often walked the streets and visited the countryside, living a very urban and country lifestyle. At this time, they had a very utopian view of life, meaning they imagined a society where their citizens possess highly desirable and perfect qualities. Edouard Manet and Edgar Degas are two notable Impressionist artists to mention. Manet did many portraits and landscapes, and Degas took high interest in ballet dancers as his subjects. These two had a friendship in which George Moore stated that their friendship had been jarred by inevitable rivalry. It is also said that these two artists once quarreled violently at a cafe in which the argument subject was forgotten, but usually their arguments had to do with artwork one had shown the other. Degas had followed Manet in the path of modernity. Manet had detached Degas from the academic routine and the beaux arts tradition and left him free to paint the life around him. Pierre-Auguste Renoir was a French artist who took high interest in the female nude as his subject. Renoir had created art for as long as he lived, even despite his encountered illness. He had developed partial atrophy of a nerve in his left eye that left him with a fixed expression that startled many people. He had also developed arthritis in his arm, in which led him to teach himself how to paint with his left arm. Therefore, he did not stop working. The artist whom I take high interest in is Mary Cassatt. She was a great admirer of Degas and has her own originality in which her works are on feminine intimacy and motherhood. It is said that Cassatt became the Impressionists' most effective agent in the U.S. She was very supportive of her fellow Impressionist artists. Once she went painting with Renoir, who said she carried her easel like a man. Cassatt was not afraid to give criticism to other Impressionist artists. Once she told Renoir his paintings were too simple, in which he took as a compliment, and she also had criticized Monet on his lack of mentality. Claude Monet is the founder of Impressionism, and others describe him as the living force behind Impressionism. He was born in Paris, France, November 14, 1840, to the name of Oscar Claude Monet. He grew up in France with a father who was a family business owner whom did not support his son's dreams of becoming an artist, and a singer for a mother who encouraged his artistic desires, but unfortunately passed away when Claude was about 17 years old. Although Claude didn't have his father on his side and had to endure his father doing everything he could to get him away from art, such as refusing to pay off the military so his son wouldn't have to join, so he was drafted for a 7-year-long service in the 1st Regiment of African Light Cavalry in Algeria. Luckily, Claude had an aunt who believed in his desire to become an artist, and so she made a deal with him. If he went to art school, she would get him out of his service. And so Monet only spent 1 year serving, in which during this time he made a few artworks, but they were all lost. After attending art school, Monet started to make portrait paintings of a woman named Camille, who would become his future wife and bear his 2 sons. Monet's impressions began in mid-1860s. He concentrated on a long-term struggle to seize a quality of light that he called the envelope. It is said that Monet, Sicily, and Pesaro have similar works, but Monet is most skillful and most daring. His first Impressionism painting, which resulted in the naming of the art movement, was Impressionism, Sunrise. He was well known for painting water lilies, painting his dead wife, and repetitive images in different seasonal conditions. He also had a lot of use of symmetry in his landscapes and seascapes works. The first artwork of Monet's that I would like to go into is Camille Monet on her deathbed. In the painting, he uses the colors blue, gray, white, and black, and she has pale, cold skin. It looks to be bundled up in some sort of cocoon. He uses scribbles, scratches, lines everywhere that makes the cocoon look, and has a heart shaped around the head and shoulder area. This painting makes you think of death, cold, gloomy, hazy, heartbreak, mourning, longing, desire, love, and peacefulness. This painting was made right after her death, where Claude locked the door, began drawing right after her last breath. On September 5th, 1879. He had confessed to his friend Georges Clemenceau that when he had done the portrait of his dead wife, that his first involuntary reflex was to tremble at the shock of the colors. Lastly, I will talk about the set of works that he had done on the Rouen cathedral pieces, in which he painted the same building several times in different lighting and weather conditions throughout each season. It was an interesting twist of showing art. In each piece, there are different colors used to set the mood and tone of the scene, and there are many shadows in which reveal when he had painted each piece. A friend of Monet, Alice, whom he eventually married, helped with raising his two sons along with 6 children of her own, whom his eldest son had married one of her daughters. They had moved around a lot, but settled in Gavarnie, where he planted a large garden and painted it for the rest of his life. Monet had developed cataracts disease, in which despite of, he still managed to paint even with his tunnel vision. He then died of lung cancer in 1926 at the age of 86, where at his funeral, George Clemenceau, the man he had spoken to about the portrait of his dead wife, he had removed the black cloth from Monet's coffin, replaced it with a floral printed cloth, and said, "No black for Monet."